In 2018, Lionsgate released quite possibly one of the movies of all time, a semi-faithful and semi-modern adaptation of the Robin Hood legend. Today, one of my best friends rejoins me to consider Being Real merch, share our coffee firsts, and bask in the glory of cheap thrills. This is the Being Real Podcast. My name is Evan. Jacob, it's time to Being Real. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to those dropping in to listen to the second episode of the second season of the Being Real podcast. I am rejoined today by close friend, perhaps some would say bestie. Most people call him Jake, but I affectionately refer to him as Jacob. Jacob Alette. Jacob, how does it feel to be back?
It feels right. I am invigorated. I'm ready to go. Thanks for having me back.
You weren't the first guest of the first season. That honorable spot is held by my mother. Yeah,
I mean, I think my spot as the episode 2.
Yeah,
is a great place to be.
So this is great. This is perfect. I mean, this is where we want to be.
The people are like, he's going to be on episode 2. We're going to jump in at that point. We're going to watch the first one. We're going to be like, this is fantastic. And then they just know he's coming up.
So you foresee that in sequential seasons, you'll be in this spot too.
Mm-hmm. I sure hope so.
I like the confidence that you have in that. That's great. I can't promise you that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think on top of that, we also have been talking about doing this particular movie for so long. I think even after we recorded your first episode on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So super excited to dive into that. But first, I mean, man, how are you doing generally right now?
Coming into 2025, lots of positive energy.
Okay.
It's slowly been whittled down, but we're still going at it. We're still driving forward. I think that's what you can do.
Anything exciting for you to look forward to in this year?
Well, last time I joined, I had the wedding coming up that year. I know you had my wife on for the Muppets Christmas Carol, and so
do you feel like you're truly married now that you've both been on this podcast?
I think so. I think when she got on the podcast, it really did become real.
So that really cemented it for you. Okay.
Yeah. There's Facebook official, but it's Being Real official.
You might have just popped off a new hashtag.
Mm-hmm.
Being Real. Maybe I'll make a couples post on our Instagram for you guys.
Okay.
You didn't meet on Being Real, but it's the next best thing, really.
Exactly.
So, we talked briefly before the recording session, and you don't have a specific cafe that you like to plug in here, but you had a really cool idea that I wanted to share with the listeners, which was our first experience with coffee. I can go in a little bit about that. For me, it was sort of a taboo thing at first. It's almost like a rite of passage in a way. And I remember just being like, I want to try this because that's what adults do.
Uh-huh.
That's what my peers are starting to do, whether it be energy drinks or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I remember making my own coffee in a travel mug. I think I was trying to emulate what my parents would do at the start of the day before they went to work.
Mm-hmm.
I was home. I wasn't going anywhere. And I wanted to impress my friends in the neighborhood who were a little bit younger than I. And I remember bringing it out to the hangout and just being like, yeah, look at me. I'm drinking coffee. Aren't I the coolest freaking person in the universe? I think I had to put like 2 cups of cream in that coffee just to stomach it at first, because much like alcohol, the very first time you're like, holy shit, what is this?
Terrible.
Yeah, terrible, really. Until I got the buzz and I was like, whoa.
Get it.
I get it now. I get it. Have you seen the 2010s Drake Sprite commercial?
I don't think I have.
Okay, well, Drake in the commercial for Sprite, he like becomes this human cyborg where parts of him pop out, almost like Inspector Gadget, as he's drinking the Sprite to signify that he's being taken to another dimension, like kind of like the 5 Gum commercials where like how it feels to chew 5 Gum. Well, this was like how it feels for Drake to be drinking Sprite. That's how I felt drinking coffee. Like, whoa, here we go. What was your first experience like? I'm interested.
Mine was from, I don't know if they make it anymore. I haven't gone there in years, but the Jamocha shake from Arby's. I remember just going there with like my mom, and like I was like, oh, I want to try the Jamocha shake, and she was like, oh, okay. And I remember having it, and I'm like, man, I feel really good. I really love this. This is fantastic. This is delicious. It's got like nice chocolatey notes in it. I have no idea what's making that sort of flavor. And so like every time I'd go back, I'd get a Jamocha shake because it was just so delicious. It made me feel great. It was only later when I like really realized, oh, this is just chock full of coffee and caffeine, and it's just making you feel incredible. And but tied to that, I think also and I guess this can be my shout out for this episode, but the iced cappuccino from Tim Hortons.
I was just about to mention this. Yeah,
it's delicious. I'm sponsored by Tim Hortons,
and you're supporting Canadian products. Well, not so much anymore that it's been bought out by
Burger King, was it?
I feel like it was bought out by a firm.
Like a private equity?
Yeah, exactly. It was like Black Bear or something. I forget what else they own. They might own Burger King too, to be fair.
I thought that's what it was, and I always found it to be really weird that they're...
Well, that's crazy that your caffeine dependency started with a Jamocha shake. That is a story unique all on its own. Mm-hmm. But I remember so Tim Hortons being started in Canada by legendary hockey player Tim Horton. And it's within mostly the northeastern United States. So we had one in Erie, Pennsylvania. I remember that being a big beverage for you, especially when I remember like going to Tim Hortons with you maybe one time before work when we had worked together in high school and getting a cappuccino, which is essentially a iced cappuccino with various different flavors with that too. But, there's nothing like it. If you want just like a dessert that gives you a boost, go, please, if you're ever in the northeastern United States, find a Tim Hortons, get a cappuccino. You won't regret it.
Sponsored by Tim Hortons.
Being Real Podcast brought to you by Tim Hortons.
Tim Hortons, please give this man some money.
Please.
We talked a little bit about in the first episode about sponsorships. We don't have any here. Okay. I want to set the record straight. If I didn't make it obvious before, I could make this a running joke where I could say that we're sponsored, but we are not. If anybody wants to sponsor us, please, Tim Hortons, maybe I'll at them just like very subliminally at first, like on a post. Maybe actually I'll just go all out and beg for the sponsorship on the Being Real Instagram. We'll see. Another thing I wanted to talk to you about, and kind of just for a plug-in for the listeners, is we're trying to brand the Being Real podcast here. Not necessarily for profit. It could be, but not necessarily for profit. And I'm going to be making some stickers and some merch. Jake and I, before the podcast, we talked about mugs with the Being Real logo. And if you see the Being Real logo, it's a coffee mug in itself. So I'm not sure if I want to put a coffee mug on a coffee mug, but we could. If anyone has any ideas with that, let me know. We talked about a shirt order if anyone's interested, but if anyone has any other ideas, please DM the Being Real Instagram and let me know what you'd like to see come out of a Being Real merch. Jake, we talked briefly about kitchen and home decor and wear. Anything in particular with the Being Real brand you'd like to see?
I was thinking, I mean, just to go with the, home and kitchen, I mean, maybe we even spec into like wood shop, sort of like,
okay.
We get drills with the Being Real podcast logo on it.
Black & Decker or Milwaukee. We could do a Milwaukee X Being Real. Yeah, okay. I like tying into a masculine energy, maybe Being Real smokers.
Oh yeah.
And we could possibly do, I think what's hot right now is Blackstone X Being Real.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, those are spiffy. I don't know if you ever used one, but like
Katie's brother has one, and I am getting the itch to grill.
Yeah, same.
Okay. I'm glad. And specifically, like, I mean, I don't know, making burgers and all that's fine, but specifically breakfast.
Oh, yeah.
If you have a crowd of people over, pancakes and bacon. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking too, like face towels and maybe bathrobes. Okay. We really could hit all corners here. It's just a matter of what the people, what the listeners want to see.
What they need, what they crave.
Being Realers, DM the Instagram if there's anything specific you want to see. I am trying to get some merch out if anyone wants to just show off a little bit of swag for the podcast. That would be much appreciated, especially if you were to do it in a very public setting. Sporting events, grocery store hauls. Okay. Well, I like that. I think we can probably hop on into the world of the movie that we have been talking about for the better part of a year, called Robin Hood. Yes, the very same Robin Hood with a twist. It is a 2018 American action-adventure film. It's really a modern retelling of Robin Hood folklore and follows Robin's training by John, played by Jamie Foxx, Robin Hood, played by Taron Egerton, to essentially steal from the Sheriff of Nottingham and give back to the people. Again, the film stars Taron Egerton as Robin, features Jamie Foxx, Ben Mendelsohn, and Jamie Dornan in supporting roles. Now, as an aside, Robin Hood was nominated for 3 Razzies for Worst Remake, Worst Supporting Actor for Fox, and Worst Picture. Jake, this is something we're going to get out here. Let's just preface. Let's just do it. Let's just do it. Let's preface by saying this is a movie. Mm-hmm. Jake, I don't know if you recall this when we were talking briefly about before last week before recording. You said in a text, this is a quote, "The only expectation I want you to have is that it's a movie." Can you expand upon that?
Well, I'd just like to stand by that comment, like 100%. I fully back that comment. So yeah, like you said, this movie has garnered multiple nominations, showing the absolute the depth that this movie has to show the audience. But it is a movie. Just in the purest sense, it is a movie. You know the tale of Robin Hood. They don't need to tell you the tale. They want to show you something. They're not trying to, shoehorn in, like modern day political contexts to it. Like they fully went into the creation of this movie knowing that they're going to be making a modern retelling of Robin Hood. And that is exactly what they did. Even like the first line in the movie, and I think I have this written down. I don't have it verbatim here. But pretty much they said, "I couldn't tell you the year that this happened." And I think that point lets them get off scot-free.
They set the foundation and really the excuse for what's to come ahead, for better and for worse. Don't you think?
They really do. I think from like the costuming, the acting, the cinematography, like everything just feels like it should be a movie about like the 21st century. But every other aspect in your mind, you're like, this is a Robin Hood movie. Everything should be set in like 1100 CE. But is it?
Well, I like to key on your quote because again, we have expectations for Robin Hood as a viewer. We know the tale, stealing from the rich, giving to the poor, and we'll get into what we think should be about this movie. But they, like you said, they tell you right from the beginning, as narrated by Friar Tuck, what we can call Robin Hood's sidekick in the movie in some way, is that, yeah, I mean, this is truly one of the movies of all time. It's seriously a guilty pleasure. The action is enjoyable. They make it, but they do make it so easy to laugh at their modern retelling and creative decisions as well. And in some ways, we also champion them too, I think, because they are in some scenes very invigorating, very thrilling.
I mean, yeah, I mean, one of the best aspects of this movie is the action sequences. Like they really spend a lot of time getting Taron Egerton like ready to go for this movie. Like he's got great form. He's nimble. He's doing all the stunts. Well, probably not all the stunts, but he's doing most of the stunts. And it's just fun. It's just fun to watch the snappy, bow action that's in this movie.
Where do you want to land on first here? I think, you mentioned Taron Egerton. Do you want to focus on maybe the characters first and their interpersonal relationships? Does that sound okay?
I think so.
Okay. Maybe we have really 6 to talk about here. We can call them the 6-6. Like sick meaning edgy in this, because this is a very, very edgy film. Would you agree? Okay.
Absolutely.
We have Taron Egerton, Robin Hood, Jamie Foxx, Little John, Jamie Dornan, Will Scarlet, and Eve Hewson, Maid Marian, and Ben Mendelsohn, the Sheriff of Nottingham, with Tim Minchin as Friar Tuck. If we look at the performances, who do you think really brought it here? Are there any disappointing ones, or are there any miscasts? Where does your mind go?
Truthfully, I'd say the best cast in this movie, just the best character has got to be Ben Mendelsohn's Sheriff of Nottingham. Like, this movie could have been so much more if all the acting and the writing was distributed from the Sheriff of Nottingham to the rest of the cast. So, obviously spoiler alerts, but like they really delved into the Sheriff of Nottingham's like life. He's not just a bad guy. He went through years of actual abuse from the church.
Sure.
Like physical beatings and being the ones to go and buy the wicks that would beat him and his friends in like, what was it, like an orphanage or something.
Yeah.
So like you can see where he himself comes from, and that's in no way saying that he's right in any of his
Sure.
actions, but it really shows that like his evil is not just from the pits of his heart. Like they're from his lived experiences. He's the foil to Robin Hood. But there are 2 characters who are on different sides of this like spectrum. The sheriff comes from nothing and rises to this place of power and does evil with it. Loxley comes from privilege and he uses his power for good. In the sheriff's sense, he's trying to harm the poor where he came from just to maintain power, and Loxley is using his power to help the poor. And I think that's just the normal story of Robin Hood, but like I think they really did a great job in the movie really showcasing that.
I think Ben Mendelsohn gives a tasteful performance of someone who's scarred but is clawing his way to the top, whether it be out of personal insecurity or someone who has a purpose that's, of course, connected to the church itself, but he's trying to have his own valor as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels very tortured, but you can see the cycle of abuse in the way he treats other characters in the movie too, even his legion of men. And I really appreciated his performance. And his foil in Taron, I feel like I truly do love Taron as an actor, and I don't necessarily think he gives a poor performance here, but I do feel like when the script asks him to be tortured, whether it be because he comes back and his land is taken away, whether it's because Miriam is now in a relationship with Will Scarlet, played by Jamie Dornan, I don't know if that torture comes through. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't think he does a good job with the part of the script that asks him to be pained. It sort of comes off as a teenage angst in a way. I don't know.
Because Taron Egerton's really got like good natural swagger, I think. I think like obviously like one of the first movies I think I saw him in was Kingsman. And so like that movie kind of feels like it's him. That movie's all about him.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like a lot of that bleeds over into this film as well. Like
I can totally see that.
That just like he's not sure of himself all the time, but like there's nothing showing that he's not sure of himself, really. He's, visibly fine. Like, he's going to be fine. Like,
and so I think next to him, during the Crusade, we see Little John played by Jamie Foxx as his, I could see him as his mentor. And it starts out that he's really his community. He's enslaved to them at first, and his son gets killed by the captain, right? I guess we can call him the captain. My take on Jamie Foxx is that I really like his performance at the start of this film. I feel like it's very nuanced. Like you can tell that him and his people before their town or city is raided, that they've been going through this for quite some time. Like this isn't a new thing. They've been fighting the long battle, and I see that in his performance, and I see the gripping horror as his son is murdered before him by the captain and his team. But as I read the reviews of the other audience on this film, I do feel like he's a little miscast. I think he came off of a hot streak in movies. I'm thinking back to obviously his role in Django Unchained and Baby Driver. I'm not sure, other than star power, why he was cast in this movie. Why do you think he was cast in this movie? Because I don't know if it was necessarily the best choice.
Again, maybe just going back to like that swagger, that like because at least as Little John is in this movie, he knows what he's doing. Like he is head sure. He's always going forward. So like he's got to be this like, not larger than life, but he's got to be strong for Robin. Yeah. He's got to show that emotion, but like he's also got to just like he's got to be cool. Like that's just how he that's how he was written. This whole movie's about the cool factor.
Mm-hmm.
And so like his scene with him watching his son be executed, like some of the best acting in the movie right there. Like I felt his pain. Like I'm not a father myself, but like I can just empathize with like how just terrifying that experience is. We're looking, if we're really digging deep into this movie, which I'm happy to do, but like his that's that deep emotional pain, I mean, continues throughout the entire film. And
Yeah.
like when he turns it on, Jamie Foxx just nails it. So, you know, I don't understand the whole nomination for worst supporting actor for this movie.
When you look at it through the scope of the intention, as you were saying, which I really liked the way you put that, if you look at through the scope of who can we get with the most swagger in this retelling of Robin Hood, I mean, he fits the bill.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I totally agree with you. I guess we can probably get into the last two performances in Eve Hewson, or Maid Marian, and Jamie Dornan and Will Scarlett in the view of the love triangle in this movie between, well, we can call him Rob from now on because everyone just loves to call him Rob because, again, this is a modern retelling and Robin Hood just wouldn't do. No. We have to call him Rob casually.
And also just like, that's the first thing he says. He's like, hey, my name's Rob.
And not just Maid Marian, it's Marian.
Yeah, just Marian.
It's not Friar Tuck, it's Tuck.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. It's between Rob, Will, and Marian. And on a more serious note first, do you think Rob was overreacting when Miriam settled down with another man and Will? Do you think his stance was unfair to her?
I think Robin's reaction within himself is valid. I think his reaction to Marian is wrong. I would understand being completely floored.
Yeah.
I think his whole, I can't believe you didn't wait for me. It's like, dude, you were dead. Everyone thought you were dead.
2 years.
You were over in, you know, the Middle East. We all thought you were dead. So like, I think his reaction is warranted, but not at Marian.
He was away for 4 years. And in the early montage, I don't know how long they were even together before he got drafted into the Crusade.
Yeah. It was like they weren't married or anything.
No. And they maybe lived together, it appeared.
Yeah. Like he literally gave her a key to his crib.
Yeah. And it looks like his old house was in some monastery. It's really weird. I didn't really ping that it was his home until they were there in the montage very often. It was just odd. So I don't know how long they were together. It's been 4 years since he's off in war, dead for presumably 2, right? And she's not betrothed to Will, in my understanding, right?
No.
So it was unfair in my opinion. So I agree with you there. I feel like it was very just rude and a little toxic. I don't know.
Oh, absolutely.
On another note, I can't believe Rob and Will's motivations were kind of based on their attraction toward Miriam. Like Rob kickstarts his thievery by directly donating to Miriam. And only when she's like, yeah, well, you know what would be hotter than giving it to me? You should give it to the streets. Is he like, yeah, there's a bigger purpose here. Of course, he's prodded by Little John as well and his purpose, but I don't know. That felt a little cheap. And also, when Will switches sides in the final revolution near the end of the film, when he witnesses Rob and Miriam kissing, kind of confirming that they've rekindled their romance, do you have any thoughts or feelings tied to these motivations or not? I'm
not a writer, I'm not a director, but it's really easy to make, like a love triangle be the main push to action, whether it's, a positive action or a negative action. So, I'm not a big fan of that framing. I mean, I think most characters should, have at least the agency to, act in sort of whatever way they want to act. But like, it's just,
it felt a little cheap. I mean, love, people say love makes people do crazy things, but two of the biggest turnarounds in this film, Rob becoming Robin Hood and Will switching sides in the revolution, are motivated by Miriam in the worst way. But I can't fault them for that. This isn't, I don't think they were setting to win any awards here for their commentary on love. On a less serious note, Jake, it's really important for me to ask you, are you Team Rob or are you Team Will? The listeners also require a detailed explanation, just FYI.
Well, I mean, it's Team Rob. I mean, I think you can make a good argument that, Will Scarlet as this like new sheriff of Nottingham, like scorned by love, never had anything in his life, and the one time that he was even close to having what he kind of wanted, it all went to shit. And part of that is because of Robin. I mean, a lot of this movie is because Robin came back alive.
Yeah, yeah.
And then decided to do something with that. And he didn't destroy the establishment. The establishment's still there. He's giving back to the poor, but like not a lot. And so, Will's whole life has been kind of like the former sheriff of Nottingham's was, but like we don't know how abusive it was, but he wasn't put into a good, starting point with his life. And, he tried, like, I think of maybe all of the characters in the movie, he was the one who did the most work in his life.
Yeah.
And then everything went to shit. He lost, he lost his girl. He lost his job.
I started on Team Will, but I ended on Team Rob solely because of Will's rash decision at the end of the film.
I'm for Team Rob just because, like, he's our hero.
Mm-hmm.
He is, he's chaotic good. He's unlawful good, like,
and Taron's pretty hunky.
Yeah,
in this
absolutely.
film.
Like you, like, shot for shot, it's Taron Egerton every single time.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
That's the huge weight for the scoring behind my decision right there. Fully Team Rob.
Well, I'd be interested to see if any of the listeners want to watch the film and determine whether they are not Team Rob or Team Will, and put it down in the comments below the episode. Maybe I'll even put a poll up if people are Team Rob and Team Will, maybe even just based solely off of Jacob and I's conversation about the love triangle. And with that, I think this is probably a good place to break, Jacob. When we come back, I'd love to talk about some sprinklings of the setting, the world building, and the tone of this movie. All right. Jake and I, Team Rob, signing off until we're back. And we are back. During our recess, Jacob and I were just talking a little bit about more of the branding for the Bean Reel podcast and what we feel like the Bean Reelers are going to be excited for with our upcoming merch drop, maybe in the next month here. Jake, any article of clothing that you'd like to wear?
I mean, hat is a classic, like a classic baseball hat. Maybe like embroidered.
Oh,
like would be like with the logo right on front. I think the colors of the logo are like exceptional.
Yes.
I think we talked about this before, but like it's just like a big warm hug that you feel when you have that first cup of coffee.
I appreciate that, because that was what I was trying to go for when I commissioned it. I had my own draw up of the new logo, and they brought it to life, and I couldn't be more grateful. And I'm glad you enjoy it. And I was thinking more about like maybe we could do a collab with Skims.
Oh, okay.
Kim Kardashian's brand. And we could do some undies and
swim trunks, maybe.
Swim trunks would be nice. Yeah. Would be nice, especially with the summer months coming up. I love all these ideas. Speaking of clothing, this movie is the costuming really aligns with the mood and the tone of this movie. Something I wanted to dive in that kind of just reflects also the world building the crew did for Nottingham. Jake, do you have any commentary on the costuming or maybe the greater setting of Nottingham in the movie?
Absolutely. The the costuming just it doesn't work like at all. It is very modern.
Mm-hmm.
It's a modern. It's a modern take on Robin Hood, but this is very.
It reminds me of what they did for Romeo and Juliet with Leonardo DiCaprio.
It's this like it's not steampunk, but it's that like futuristic. No. Like it's raining outside all the time. You know, dark alley. You know, full black leather.
It's quite something. It's giving like highbrow designer.
Yeah.
Like something like a cross between like like the harshness of Balenciaga and maybe a more elegant Coco de Chanel or Valentino.
Oh yeah.
It's like off-putting.
Yeah. And like it's everything that is in the movie. All the costumes are a play off of something. So like, and this is the scene that, you know, I always think about when I think of this movie, but the scene in the movie when they're in the streets of this Arabian town and they're going through it like it's Iraq 2003.
Yes.
And like they're all wearing desert military fatigues, but they're like little tunics.
Yes.
But they have like this like texture on it that really gives camo. And it's like, okay, we can see the direction of this movie. We know what the I guess the modern day analog is supposed to be, but it's just really, it takes you out of the movie a little bit.
It does. And I mean, keying in on that specific scene, I mean, it's very much inspired by like in that battle sequence to kick off the Crusade. It's the Crusade combat scene. I think I read that Egerton spoke of the influence of the Hurt Locker.
Okay, yeah. Oh, I can see that.
Let's see what we got. We have like semi-automatic crossbows supposed to signify a machine gun turret, which is something you'd see in movies before. Taking place in the Iraq War. Yeah. You know, being whether it's a sniper, whether it's a machine gunner, it doesn't really matter. Again, with these visuals where Rob and the gang are tactically maneuvering through a deserted town city, like bows out like they're American rifles. I mean, first of all, it's badass.
It is.
But I mean, where else do you see the ties here in those scenes?
Ties to the modern day.
Yeah, like the modern day war setting. In a way.
It's just that whole 5-minute sequence that just like is just completely ripped out of just a standard modern day like war movie. I mean, it really is, and it's not that like, you know, classic like 1950s like, hey, we won World War II. War is like great, and you know, valor and courage and loyalty. Like, war. It's definitely the more, you know, post Saving Private Ryan, you know, Big Red Line sort of like, you know, war is hell. War is not good. Here's accurate depictions of war. You know, there's scenes of them being like fully suppressed by crossbow fire.
Yes.
And they can't move out of their cover. And it's like, and that's why I really like this movie being a movie. This is just a fun movie.
Yes.
Just that scene is just drilled into my mind as just a fantastic like opener to a movie.
And just enjoy it for what it is. And it works so well that way.
Yeah.
When we forward the story into Nottingham, what's the vibe of the world they created in Nottingham? Like, I feel like it's a much larger city than I thought it would have been in the classic tales, or at least it's more industrial and gothic, I guess.
Yeah. No, it's very industrial revolution. Again, like going back to like that steampunk sort of like aesthetic, and it's dark. It's showy.
There's like plumes of fire shooting off every 1 to 2 minutes.
And I'd really like to talk about the mines here. And so for listeners who haven't seen this movie, the mines are this very vague term for quote unquote mines, I guess. but they don't really ever show the mines themselves, and it's really just where all the poor people live. And so, like, we don't know the economic use of the mines. We don't know whether or not, like, Nottingham is the quote unquote purse of the Crusades because the mines are so efficient. I don't get it. I mean, if it's literally just used as a general place to show, like, the abject poverty of Nottingham, like, sure, that's great. But, like, it's so vague.
It feels like a paper constructed context or background to the ongoing struggles, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was going to ask you, would you have liked to explore more of the world? Like, were you a fan of the visuals? And I think you answered it in part here. Like, they want to give you the required exposition, but obviously it lacks any of the power of truly seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
There's no setup for it. It's just an off mention. So I don't know if they would have maybe taken a couple more minutes just to showcase the struggles of these people. And I guess I wouldn't want it to be too typical of, like, the sheriff's guards going through the town and beating up on people in the beginning. Like, that might be a little bit too cliche.
Yeah. I mean, they do that later on in the film.
Yeah, they do. But way after they're mentioned initially. Like, I don't know. I feel like you need that more towards the beginning to make it a more satisfying revolution. But who am I to say?
Mm-hmm. I love the aesthetic of the movie. Nothing really works, but it's not like it's so bad it's good.
Yeah.
But, like, it all works weirdly together. They don't know exactly what the aesthetic is of the world, and so they're just jamming as many things in it as possible, but it really does work. And just watching the movie, watching the visuals, like, the architectures, like he says, it's like weird gothic, but, like, over exaggerated architecture.
There's no way to put a true pin on it. Like,
No.
it's not retro, like steampunk. It's not. There's just little bits and pieces of different eras or designer concepts that they put into this film that make it unique all on its own.
Mm-hmm.
It's dark, it's harsh, like we mentioned, but it's also, like, definitely some medieval roots there too. So being a modern spin, I don't think you can fault it for the decisions they made from a visual aesthetic standpoint.
No, like, visually it is beautiful.
Yeah.
It's probably one of the better, like they spent a lot of money, and the artists did a fantastic job making this movie what it was.
Oh, I mean, the setting and the clothes you can tell they didn't spare a penny here.
No.
I think maybe we can they definitely cut some corners in the CGI, thinking about the Ben-Hur-esque chariot scene towards the end of the movie, but
incredible.
Do you remember that one part where the horse flips over its own carriage and it just looks so painfully green screened? And I'm like, wow, they ran out of money, didn't they?
Yeah.
My take on the greater tone here is that I think it's very much of its own time. And I mean the film itself being made in 2017, 2018. Even though it's only about 7 years or so ago, what I mean by that is it feels very much of the Marvel superhero mania inspired era.
Mm-hmm.
It was greenlit in 2017. That's peak Avenger era. And I mean, just to go down the line here, they introduce characters in a not so subtle way. Like, I'm thinking of the short romance scenes in the beginning where the woman removes her headdress, and I feel like they wanted us to know who it was instinctually. Like, oh my God, it's Miriam. It's Miriam. Like, they're introducing like a side superhero character. Or Rob's literally his entire training sequence.
Yeah.
I think we can appreciate a good training montage, me and you. Like, Taron Egerton is absolutely serving muscle. He's hunk. But it's reminiscent of, like, superhero startups like Batman Begins. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. No, it's... Now that you really mention it, like, the Marvel undertones are, like, really there. I mean, even going to the end, like the whole Will Scarlet reveal just feels so end credit scene.
Yeah.
It's just so good.
And I feel so bad because they wanted a sequel.
Yeah.
For this movie, and there's no way they were getting it.
Yeah. They did the work to probably get a trilogy out of this. Like that. Like that is a great first showing for a world that you could really do whatever you wanted with. Because like the end of the movie is like them actually becoming that like den of thieves in Sherwood Forest.
Yep.
And so like,
and there could be some good trials and drama with that creation, or the existence of it if they're going to jump ahead a little bit going into a sequel.
Yeah. Yeah. It is a product of its time.
It is. I mean, and then you have like all the punchy quips and humor and the lame excuse of a comedy relief that comes from Friar Tuck. Something like a sidekick in a very convoluted way. It's odd. And I have to be, it seriously got to the point for me, Jacob, where I was like, please, for the love of like anyone listening in the sky, please do not tell me they are going to have Rob slip into a final suit where he takes on a more classically inspired Robin Hood outfit that's green with a cute little eye mask. I was like, no, please don't do this. And thankfully they didn't do it. So big shout out to the creative team.
And, I think even if they had done that, given the costuming, like aesthetic of the movie, it would have just looked exactly like the CW Green Arrow show.
Yes.
For the viewers who haven't seen it, think Green Arrow's outfit in the show. And that's the movie aesthetic. It's like that slick, like leather, like full body suit of leather. And it's classically inspired by 1100s CE outfits, but there's a modern spin.
I definitely think there's still a little bit more we could talk about here, surely. But first I want to get into our first segment, 2 truths and 1 lie. Now, this is something coming from the first season where I wanted to do an ongoing record of wins and loss column between me and the guests. And I think Jacob now has his opportunity to get a second win.
Oh, I know. I'm going to get a second win.
Well, hold on. I also have the distinct opportunity to best Jacob for the very first time. And this is something I want to do with the recurring guests. And Jake, I don't know. I want to be kind to the guests who come on the show, but I am also out for vengeance.
As you should
much like Robin Hood. And I think we can just jump into it. You ready?
Let's do it.
Let's get to it. Fact number 1. Taron Egerton reported that he was so terrified of riding horses that he straight up refused to do any single scene that was concocted for Robin Hood to be riding a horse into whatever, battle, whatever you have it.
Okay.
Fact number 2. The set and costume designers were instructed to make everything we see in the movie from an aesthetic standpoint 1/3 historically correct, 1/3 contemporary, and 1/3 futuristic to achieve the movie's unique look. Fact number 3. Principal photography for Robin Hood was ultimately pushed back for 1 year between 2016 and 2017 due to scheduling conflicts from the Sheriff of Nottingham, Ben Mendelsohn. He was set to shoot scenes in the movie Star Wars spinoff Rogue One. Jacob, can you sniff out the lie here?
So we've got the first one being, what was it again?
Taron Egerton's fear of riding horses. That's right. Why they don't appear in the film.
So he does ride a horse in the film.
Okay.
I don't know if it's just a stunt double. Probably is a stunt double. He is doing a lot of fun bow stunts riding the horse. And then the second one with the 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 aesthetic. I could believe it based on what the aesthetic is, but it's a very interesting fact that you would just very convenient.
Possibly.
That is a
the first 2 you mentioned are all possible.
Yeah.
They're all possible.
And the third with, Ben Mendelsohn being not available for Rogue One, which is a great film. He killed it as director critic in that film. So I guess I got to make a choice.
You do. And I sense that you're tripped up and the hairs are standing on the back of my neck in excitement.
You know, I was tripped up last time and I came out on top.
Ooh, okay.
So, you know, I'm hoping I can make the right
you really
choice
have
here.
to be the sheriff of Nottingham here in trying to find the Robin Hood.
That is true. Who is the Hood?
Who is this Hood?
Mm-hmm. I just got to peel back the layers of falsehood. I think that the lie is that this movie was pushed back a year for Ben Mendelsohn.
Oh my gosh. There's just no way that he did it again to me, folks. There's just no conceivable way this could have happened. Jake, really unceremoniously for me, you are taking home another win.
Oh,
in the
and
two
two
truths
for you.
in one lie segment. How does it feel to be undefeated?
It feels really great. This is everything I've ever wanted. I'd like to thank the Academy for the
I
support.
really want you to do this as like an Oscar-esque acceptance speech. Like, who are you thanking for all this victory?
I'd like to thank the Robin Hood production team for getting just the best direction in terms of costuming.
Being on
schedule. Really just nailing everything they needed to do. And Taron Egerton for just not liking horses. So I'm very happy he didn't like that. But and thank you to you for giving me this wonderful second win that I will carry with me until the next time.
You stole that, man. You absolutely stole that victory, man. I mean, you got to give it back to the other guests who will eventually be back on the Being Real show, who didn't best me, much like, stealing from the rich, giving to the poor. So, that remains to be seen. You might be very content with your win column and choose not to. I wouldn't blame you. All right. Following off that heartbreaking loss.
Oh my God, you're such a baby.
I just kind of want to fire off any notes we had on this movie. We can maybe call it the good, the badass, and the terribly misguided. Did anything move you in those territories about this film? Like, I had a grievance in the film when the townspeople start to rally behind Robin Hood and place hoods, literal hoods along the town as to signify that he is their champion. Yeah. It left my stomach sick. It was very cheesy. Yes. Anything else you wanted to mention?
So like things that like brought me out of the movie, like just
whether it be like, wow, that was incredible, or that was sick, or wow, that was so stupid.
I think sort of in like the first scene, one of the first scenes is when the sheriff is like drafting these like letters to people to, send them to war. For me, the gigantic letter that read draft notice, I thought was hilarious. Like he must have spent like $20 worth of printer ink on that. Yeah. Like just to get draft notice on the top of that letterhead.
And Nottingham is no small city. I mean, they had to have their own draft press for these things. But on the other hand, what if they were hand inscribed?
They probably were. I mean, it's the 1100s, but also the 21st century. So
I could literally hear the carpal tunnel.
Yeah,
on my screen.
And he's got to do that a lot. There's a lot of people to draft.
A lot of calligraphists.
Yes.
I mean, the calligraphists were drafted alone for the draft.
Oh, probably. Yeah. But with that, I also loved the introduction of Rob's new bow. I love how he had this like beautiful long bow that he had been using his entire time in
Old Faithful.
in the war, and he comes back and John hands him, this is what you need, a street weapon, and this thing's got like brass knuckles on it. It's probably got like knives at the end to like stab people, and it's like, I think just calling it a street weapon was just so funny. It's like he came back from war using like an M4, and like John gives him like an Uzi. Yeah, it was just fantastic.
It was a choice.
Yeah,
there was many choices in this film. I have some notes like why the hell is Jamie Foxx in this movie?
Of course.
I have his nickname is Rob highlighted. I have a wonder about Rob being a sad boy.
Okay.
Oh, Little John's test during the training montage where he asks Rob to shoot him. Mm-hmm. And he dodges the arrows, which is entirely possible. Mm-hmm. But then he sort of continues to ask Rob to shoot at him to challenge his anger, or really channel his anger. And it goes from hardly realistic to almost superhuman in a heartbeat, where he's actively swatting at the arrows being shot at him with his like bow staff-esque weapon. Interesting, to say the least, but also badass.
Yeah, I think in that moment he was just locked in.
That's what we're chalking that up to, being locked
absolutely.
in.
Yeah.
What, in the same vein, was Rob also locked in when he shot out the candles with his bow?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. No, but we have to put up, like, he shot out the candle flame with arrows.
Yeah.
And you thought Rob locked in.
Yeah. That was the moment.
Okay.
Like all of his training went to that pure moment. Like he was locked. For the rest of the movie he was locked in. Okay. But like at that moment you knew.
Yeah, there is a lot of locking in this movie, in the action sequences where they defy many laws of physics, and it's all for the better. Yeah. It's really all for the better.
Mm-hmm. You know who should have locked in?
Who?
The Sheriff of Nottingham. He just went out terribly.
Do you know why I feel like he was locked in? Because there, towards the end of the movie, he puts on this very tasteful matte gray leather jacket.
Oh my God. Yes.
He might not have locked in from a battle standpoint, but from a drip standpoint, locked in, indubitably.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I wanted to bring up that jacket. I had forgotten about that jacket, but it really like there's a lot of outfits in this movie.
It takes him from being a cutthroat character to being a sympathetic character.
Absolutely. Like you feel so bad that he's wearing this jacket.
So I like that. We could definitely end our short list of the good, bad, badass, and the terribly misguided because he's wearing a matte gray leather jacket.
Fitting end.
Jacob, never short on the puns. We can probably jump into the review of this movie, Jake. Okay. I'm just going to say that this is, again, truly one of the movies of all time. And it did lose my interest near the end of the movie. But for all it's worth, from the beginning tense action sequence in the Arabic town all the way to the start of the revolution, I have to say I'm coming to probably about a 6 on this movie.
A 6 out of 4? That's really good.
No. A 6 out of 10, Jacob. Okay. A 6 out of 10. And that is from... Now, I need you to know that is simply from a critical review.
Of course.
From a masculine review, this movie is 11 out of 10. Mm-hmm. Where are you at?
I think I'd also give it, not a middling score, but like 7 out of 10.
Okay.
As like a movie.
That's respectable.
I did not come into this with any expectations, and it delivered on giving me 2 hours of just fun and enjoyment that I had no expectation of getting. You know, I love a good Robin Hood story. And so that's really what brought me to this movie. And it delivered in the fact that it brought me a Robin Hood story. It was enjoyable. So like 7 out of 10, it did its job. It did it well? Question mark. To get critically thinking about this movie, I think it's doing this movie a disservice. Because it's just pure fun. And like you said, like there's this portion of this movie that I just started looking at my phone. And it is very close to the end. I think this movie is probably 30 minutes a little too long.
It holds you to that last like 20 minutes or so.
Because
to its credit.
Yeah, from like the point where he reveals himself as Robin Hood to the actual end rebellion, like I cannot remember.
I honestly was reading an article on my phone and I looked up and Jamie Dornan's face was half burnt.
Yeah.
And I was like, how the hell did we get here?
Yeah. It does its job. 7 out of 10. It pulls the marks in terms of being this like masculine, you know, Expendables-esque Marvel movie that like it's riveting. It's fun.
Now, our new segment for season 2, Jake, is a segment I like to call Double Shot, like a double shot of espresso.
All right.
And I want to know what movie you would pair for a double feature with Robin Hood 2018.
Okay. So just, is this like a before or an after?
Either one. You could do a prelude. You could do an end to the night, whatever you'd like.
You want something with substance, and you don't want anything too action forward.
I'm gonna stick to my guns here and get mine out of the way for you.
Okay.
I'm gonna say I want to start with Batman Begins and end the night with Robin Hood 2018.
Okay.
I think they're very much type of movie where you see a man at his worst becoming something for his community. And yeah, I don't think you really have to ask much more than that.
That's a hard question.
And it doesn't even have to be so similar. Like you could tell me, I'm going to start the night with Robin Hood 2018 and I'm going to end the night with Barbie because that's how I'm feeling.
You know, I would probably start the night with Robin Hood 2018.
Okay.
And I think I'd end the night with Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Ooh, okay. Maybe like a little bit more of a comic relief to set the night off. Okay.
Yeah, because like Robin Hood 2018, a little heavy at times. You know, you got your love story, you got your action, and then it really ends you on a cliffhanger. And I think Men in Tights, given its much more apparent like approach, that's not like apparent, but like more originalist approach to Robin Hood, I think would just be a great movie to finish off on. I mean, get some laughs, get some good energy.
I love that. And I like the fact that the viewers can get multiple perspectives on the Robin Hood lore too, all the while. So excellent choice.
Thank you.
Jake, thank you for stopping by the podcast once again. You are a distinguished and honored guest at Being Real. And once again, I'd like to extend a very, very warm thank you to you. And I hope you had fun.
I did, and thanks for having me once more. It's an honor to come onto this podcast every season. So thank you.
I hope you know you won't be the last guest, and I do hope that you will sport your Being Real goods and wear and merch when the drop ultimately happens.
Any chance I get.
Thank you. So, Being Realers, that wraps up the second episode of the Being Real podcast. If you feel like it, give this movie, Robin Hood, a spin. I don't think it'll win many awards by anyone's standards, but you won't have to try very hard to have a good time. And isn't that all that matters anyway? No, that was
And
totally
we're back.
The perpetual. And we're back for the third season. We're recording this early.
All right, I'll see you.
See ya.